Hello, TACACS.net users. My name is Richard and I'm going to show you how to set up Multifactor Authentication, also known as MFA, with your TACACS.net
generate
server.
a user account using GAS.
TACACS.net has built-in support
into
for
our
MFA using
Authenticator
Google Authenticator,
and test
but also
the user
has the
authentication
flexibility to
with
work with
TACACS.
multiple authentication apps. For this demonstration, the front-end app we'll be using is Google Authenticator, which is available for free on Android or iOS. And the backend utility comes packaged with your TACACS.net
add an extra
installation.
layer of security to your TACACS.
MFA requires an extra piece of information in addition
the last
to
few
a
things I want to
username and
point out
password
before
access is
are a
granted
couple of
to a
administrative
secure
tools
resource.
for the GAS
With
utility.
Google Authenticator, as well as
If you
other
type in
Authenticator
GAS
apps,
show
that
and hit
extra piece of
enter,
information
you get a list
comes
of
in the
all
form
your
of a
registered
dynamically
user
generated
accounts,
6-digit
along
code
with their shared secret,
known as a one-time password,
creation date,
or OTP.
and number of clients.
There are
it's
two
been
different
used on.
algorithms to choose from.
And if
for
you
your
want to check the
OTP
validity
generator,
of a user
time-based,
you
or
can enter
TOTP
GAS
and
verify
counter-based,
along
or
with the shared
HOTP.
secret or
The
the
H
current
stands
OTP.
for hash-based message
And finally,
authentication code.
to remove MFA
For time-based
user
one-time
accounts,
passwords,
you can enter GAS
Google Authenticator
kill
will hash
and
the
the shared
current time
secret
and a
for an
shared
individual
secret.
or kill asterisk.
The server
to wipe
validates the
them all.
OTP by comparing all
And
the
that's it
hashes
for the
within a
MFA
certain window of
configuration.
time to the
I hope
submitted
you enjoy
value.
this video.
So
Thank you
TOTPs
for
are valid only for a
watching.
short window of time. For hashed OTPs, a counter is used instead of the current time. The server increments the counter manually, and the valid OTP changes after
that's
a
all there
successful
is
login.
to it. To add
Using
an
time-based
extra layer of
is considered
security
more
to your
secure because the matching
TACACS.net
OTP
logins.
is only valid for a brief
The last
window
few
of
things I
time,
want to point
while
out
the
before
counter
we
can be
go
valid for an
are a couple of
indeterminate amount of
administrative
time.
tools for the
The
GAS
counter
utility.
OTP is considered to be
If you
more
type in
user-friendly,
GAS show and
as
hit
the user
enter,
won't have to
you
hurry
get a
to
list
enter
of
their
all of your
OTP
registered user
before the
accounts
time interval
along with
is
their
up.
shared
Now,
secret,
let's take a look at the
creation date,
Google OTP
and number of
XML
clients it's been
configuration
used on.
file. This
If
can
you
be
want to
found
check the
alongside the
validity
rest
of
of
a
the
user account,
TACACS.net
you can enter
configuration
GAS
files,
verify
which are
along
accessible
with the
from
shared
the start
secret
menu.
or the current OTP.
As you can see, there are
and
only
finally,
3 configurable
to remove
elements
MFA
in
user
this file.
accounts, you can enter
The first
GAS
is the
kill
look-ahead window,
and the shared
which is
secret
used
for an
with
individual
counter
or kill
OTPs
asterisk
to specify
wipe
a
them
number
all.
of OTP values
And that's it for the
that are
MFA
allowed after the
configuration.
next expected OTP
I hope you enjoy
value.
this video.
The primary purpose
Thank
of
you for
this is
watching.
to mitigate synchronization issues between the server and device and should be set as low as possible. Next is the delay window, used with timed OTPs to set
that's
the
all
amount
there
of
is to it
acceptable time
to add
delay
an extra layer of
between the
security to
receiving
your
and transmitting time.
TACACS.net logins.
And finally,
The last few
replay
things
prevention.
I want to point out before
Replay
we
prevention
go
will
are a
prevent
couple of
a timed
administrative tools
OTP
for
from
the
being
GAS
used
utility.
more than once.
If you
This
type
will
in
help to
GAS
prevent
show and hit
man-in-the-middle
enter,
attacks, but
you get a
also
list of
restricts
all
the
of your
user to
registered
no more
user
than
accounts
one
along with
login
their
every
shared
30
secret,
seconds. The
creation
options
date,
for this setting
and
are
number of
enabled
clients it's being used
and disabled.
And if you want to check the validity of
Implementing
the user account,
MFA
you can enter
use for
GAS
your users
verify
is done in the
along with the shared secret
Authentication.xml
or the current
file.
OTP.
You can enable MFA
And
for
finally,
individual
to remove
user
MFA
groups.
user accounts,
To do that,
you can enter
we need
GAS
to add
kill
an additional
and
element
the shared
and string
secret for an
attribute
individual
below the
or kill
authentication
asterisk
type.
to wipe
The
them
element
all.
we need to add is MFA
And that's it for
provider
the
and
MFA
opening and
configuration.
closing tags.
I hope you enjoy
And the
this
value
video.
is Google OTP.
Thank you for watching. Please note that even though the attribute is Google OTP, TACACS.net is compatible with any MFA app that supports time or counter-based OTPs.
So now that
as
we have our
Authy,
test users added to
Microsoft
Google
Authenticator,
Authenticator, we're going to go ahead
or
and give
Okta,
it a
to name
test
a few.
login. For demonstration, before we
we're going
do
to
that,
create a new
there's
user
one more
group of
element in the
TACACS
configuration
local
files
users.
we need to have a look at.
We
recommend before you roll
in
out
the
MFA in production
TACACS.xml file
that you also do
there's
a
an
test
element
run
called
with a local
OTPS.
The user group we're using is called OTP test, which contains user 1 and user 2. Note that before you're able to generate a user account on the Authenticator app, this element will need to be present and active in the configuration file. The utility we use to generate the user accounts for the Authenticator app is called GASS, G-A-S-S. To view the available switches that can be used, you just run GASS with the question mark flag. Now, we're going to go ahead and create one user with a timed OTP and another with a counter OTP. To add a user account to the GAS database and create the profile on the Authenticator app, the command is GASS generate, and then you need to add the U flag with the username, -T for a time-based OTP or -C for a counter OTP. Here we'll do a timed OTP, and you can also include an optional description using the D flag with -D and the description. Here I'll type for MFA tutorial. Here we get a few important pieces of information. The first is the individual profile's shared secret. This can be used by the end user to enter into the Authenticator app to create the account and by the administrator to test or troubleshoot the app. The next important piece is the URL that leads to a QR code that can be scanned using the Authenticator app. Finally, you have your emergency backup scratch codes that can be used in instances where the mobile device is unavailable to generate the OTP or for recovery. Next, we're going to add user 1 into our mobile device, and we can do that by entering the shared secret called the setup key in the app, or by scanning the QR code at the URL generated previously. We'll go ahead and add user 1 by scanning the QR code. And there it is. User 1 has been added to our Google Authenticator app. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add user 2 using gas generate-c and entering the shared secret into the Authenticator app. Okay, so now that we have our test users added to Google Authenticator, we're going to go ahead and give it a test login. Before we do that, there is one more element in the configuration files we need to have a look at. In the tacplus.xml file, there is an element called OTP separator with an asterisk as its default attribute. This is the character that we use to distinguish between the username and OTP for TACACS.net to strip and process separately. Usually, an asterisk is fine, but some clients may handle different characters in an unusual way. If you run into trouble with this configuration, check the client's documentation for potential encoding conflicts. Another thing to keep in mind is that the OTP MFA method is unrelated and totally different than if you are using an app that sends push notifications or SMS messages as the second factor. Push or SMS notifications are not supported by Google Authenticator. Alright? Great. Now, let's try to authenticate to a client. To test authentication, I'm using our built-in TACACS client that can be run from the command prompt. For more information about TACACS and how to use it, check out our tutorial linked in the description. First, a test without MFA active in the configuration. So, we've configured our configuration works and user 1 can authenticate without MFA. Now, I'll go ahead and activate the MFA attribute in the configuration file. When we're authenticating with MFA, we need to append the OTP to the end of the username separated by the OTP separator, which is an asterisk in this case. So we put our OTP here and hit enter. And there we have a passing authentication using our second factor OTP. Now, I'll go ahead and give user 2 a try with the counter-based OTP. And there we have user 2 passing authentication as well. So far, we've seen MFA set up and used with local TACACS users only, but you can also set up MFA for use with other authentication types. We're now going to set up MFA for a user group that has Active Directory as the backend user database. To enable MFA for Windows Active Directory, we just repeat the same steps as before. Then, we generate a user account using GASS, scan it into our Authenticator app, and test the user authentication with TACTest. So that's all there is to it to add an extra layer of security to your TACACS.net logins. The last few things I want to point out before we go are a couple of administrative tools for the GAS utility. If you type in GAS show and hit enter, you get a list of all of your registered user accounts along with their shared secret, creation date, and number of clients it's being used on. And if you want to check the validity of a user account, you can enter GAS, verify, along with the shared secret or the current OTP. And finally, to remove MFA user accounts, you can enter GAS, kill, and the shared secret for an individual or kill asterisk to wipe them all. And that's it for the MFA configuration. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.